have with me today JC, who is the lead vocal for the band Fire at Midnight, and they are out of New York. Hi, JC. How are you?
Hi, Cassidy. Hello. Thank you for having me on the Rock Emporium.
Not a problem. I have a question. I was going to ask you how the band got started, but I noticed on your Facebook page it said that you guys have been around since 1833.
Yeah, that's probably a mistake.
That's quite a long time.
Yeah, I want to supersede anybody else's trademark,
Yeah. Well, I know why you put it there. You wanted to make sure people were actually paying attention.
One comes after me because I've been through something else with a trademark in another band. So, no, I mean, the band officially started, I would say, around 2009 to 2009.
Uh-huh.
And played the first live show in 2010, and what it was just me going to different jam sessions with musicians in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, Greenpoint, Brooklyn, and parts of Manhattan. Mm-hmm. And it was very loose. It was just me playing with different people, and the first show was October 22nd, 2010 on the Lower East Side of Manhattan.
Mm-hmm. Now, how many members are there in the band?
Right now we have 4.
Mm-hmm.
We have myself, vocals and guitars, Tom Mackey, guitar player, Ralph Vitale, drums, and Pablo Alvarez, who's our keyboard and organ player.
Mm-hmm. Now, how would you describe your band to someone who has never heard Fire at Midnight before?
I would say it is the closest thing to classic rock without actually being classic rock, if you thought about a sound, because it encompasses a lot of elements of classic rock, mostly foundational blues and rock, bands like Deep Purple, Mountain, Black Sabbath, but also elements of, the Moody Blues and some of the other bands that go a little bit more than just using guitars, because we use multiple instruments on different songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, since you started in 2009, you said?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
How have you seen the band evolve since the beginning?
Oh, it evolved very, very slowly. It was something that was very loose, and I had about 10 songs, which I never really even used. And I would say the turning point was probably in late 2011 when I met Tom Mackey, who is the guitar player and who really brought another element to what I was doing to complement my style in guitars. And that was really the turning point. From there, we brought on Ralph, I think that early the following year, and then eventually Pablo. And, we've been through a lot of people. I was on another interview a couple of weeks ago, and we've had about 25 people in this band since 2010. So it's been long, it's been painful, but I can tell you that there is a Fire at Midnight sound, and there has been for a few years, but it took about 6 or 7 years to get to that point.
Mm-hmm. Now, were there any obstacles for the band along those years of trying to overcome?
Yes, finding people. New York City is not, I would say it's not the best place to start a rock band because it's very eclectic here. I would say top 40, hip-hop, DJ music, that takes a precedent to rock and roll here. However, if you go down south, Texas, Mississippi, Tennessee, or even parts of Ohio, you'll find that it's a little bit easier because, rock and roll is a little bit more at the forefront. And there's more people who play and who want to play original music. Whereas here, it's very slim pickings when it comes to original rock musicians. There's a lot of people who play guitar, but they play in cover bands, they play for money, and they're all very good. But when you think about original music, it's very difficult. And I would say the 2 areas in New York City where you would find original musicians is the Lower East Side of Manhattan and Williamsburg, Greenpoint, Brooklyn.
Now, are there any bands that you like that have had perhaps a bit of an influence on how Fire at Midnight sounds?
Yes, I could name 100 million, but I would probably say we call it the sweet spot where we all have kind of similar interests. Some of our interests are not similar, and I would probably say it's 1968 to about 1973, and that would include bands like Cream and Eric Clapton, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix. That's sort of the sweet. And then I would even go into Mountain, Iron Butterfly, bands who use keyboards. And then sort of the more progressive rock stuff like Pink Floyd, Jethro Tull, the Moody Blues. So I would say it's sort of that kind of thing. Anybody recent? I don't know. I'm influenced by Gary Clark Jr. Personally, a band called the Monophonics, and Joe Bonamassa. If I'm thinking of like somebody who's like kind of new, Doyle Bromhall, who's very well known down in Texas. So it's all guitar driven, but using different elements of, I'd say, rock, blues, elements of country, and even I would say jazz and folk, because we don't just use open and bar chords. We sometimes use jazz chords, and we mix up the rhythms with like different kind of like funk elements of funk. So I would say the best thing I could say, it's a rock and roll band that uses a lot of fusion.
Mm-hmm. Now, does everyone in the band have a say in what type of songs you're going to put together, or are you the main songwriter?
I'm the singer-songwriter, but we all come together and come up with the ideas for music. Tom comes up with a lot of chord patterns and chord structures, as so do I, and then everybody does their part, the keyboards, and Ralph does the drumming, and it's all like shared. Sometimes songs fly into my head, and I just try to put it down on a quick recording or even my phone, and I bring it to them, and then we'll hash it out in the studio. That's usually how it's done. We have 2 albums out now, and we're working on Fire at Midnight 3 for next year.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to ask you about that, because I know about the first 2 that you have. So you're planning on possibly by the end of the year, or sometime in 2018 you'll have it all finished?
It's a great question. I was thinking about this the other day. Sign bands who have all the time in the world, I don't even know if they release an album a year. We released Fire at Midnight in 2015. We really released Fire at Midnight in 2016. So yes, I wanted to release it this year, but to release 3 albums in 3 years it's a little challenging sometimes. One, because of time and material. So, and I this album I think is going to be better than the first 2, and I don't want to rush it. So right now we're going back to the studio August 5th. We're going to upstate Patterson, New York to record it. And then I'll start the mixing process sometime in August. And I would probably say it's going to be a spring release next year, because it might have more than 10 songs on it.
Yeah.
That's the goal. But the songs are at a different level than the last album. You could see that they're getting better, and the ideas are coming. So when you ask me that question, we're going through that process right now of the songwriting and the material.
Well, you can't rush perfection, that's for sure.
No, and I'm getting more particular as the albums go on. I want to make, it's not that I want to overproduce it. I don't like overproduced albums. I just want to make the best songs that I can possibly make, because, we're getting about, I would say 50, sometimes even 100 followers a week on Twitter now.
That's incredible. Very good.
And a lot of, I got to thank them that they are actually helping us. The people who follow us on Twitter are actually helping us, because they're actually finding more people, because they're telling one person telling 10 people or 20 people, and that's really been the difference. So I think we owe it. Fire at Midnight is a very fan-driven band. We don't care about anything else but gaining fans and followers, whether it's in the live or on the internet, whatever. So we sort of feel like there's an obligation to put out really good music, and music that they like, because I've got a lot of them asking me when it's coming out.
Yeah. Word of mouth advertising is the best advertising you can possibly have.
I agree.
Yeah. Now, if you had a choice of any band that Fire at Midnight would have the opportunity to open for, who would you want it to be?
Currently now? Let's see.
Well, anybody, actually. Anybody that you know or like.
I would probably say Black Sabbath. That to me is the band that sort of, the Rolling Stones too, but Black Sabbath is the reason why I think a lot of guitar players started playing guitar, and they sort of pushed the envelope in the late 60s. And nothing wrong with Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton. I love that music, and I love Delta Blues, but I think Tony Iommi took it to another level, and that's really where I think that was the beginning of real anthem rock. Like when you think of rock and roll anthem music, I think that was really the beginning of it. And so yeah, and realistically, I would probably this question was asked of me. I think it would be great to open up for a band right now who's sort of popular, who's kind of well known, especially around here. There's a band called 10 Ton Mojo, and I think Daddy Longlegs is in the New York area, and they're pretty well known. So that would be good because we'd probably get in front of a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. Now, does the band primarily do shows just throughout New York, or have you gone to other states to do other shows?
I think we went to Jersey once. I forget, but that was a while ago. We're really well received, like in those two places in downtown Brooklyn, and I would say the Lower East Side, because that's where all the people go to see original music. So yeah, I could go to Jersey and Long Island, but and I don't want to say this as a bad thing. It seems like a lot of people in New York, New Jersey area like to see cover music, and this is the challenge in the tri-state area. I used to play in Philly in another band a long time ago, and I thought that was more interesting than playing in outside of like New York City. But we want to go where people are open to hearing original music and not people like shouting, "Oh, play this classic rock song." And we do play some cover songs. We do that, but the idea, if nobody creates original music, then there's really no new pool of music, and we're all listening to the same music for the last...
Definitely. So, what advice would you give for bands that are just starting out?
Depends where they are. I would say if you really, really want to play in a band and it's something you want to do full-time, nonstop, go to a city that is going to support that. If you want to do it in New York, be realistic and practice as much as you could, meet as many people as you could, because if you're just going like once in a while here or there, you've got to like join sort of these networks where you go and you're just jamming with people, and nothing's really set. It's just you're meeting people, because that's in those places, that's where you're going to meet someone to start your project, and you're going to find someone that is sort of like your counterpart to create something original, and it takes a lot of time, I will say.
Now, Fire at Midnight is on all of the social media channels?
Yes, absolutely, all of them. The biggest one, I think, is Twitter. That's where we get all the followers and have most of the action, but we, Facebook, just got on Bandcamp, SoundCloud, YouTube, all of them, and we have our own website, URL, fireatmidnight.com.
And what is your username for Twitter, just in case anybody wouldn't be familiar with it?
At Fire at Midnight. All lowercase, yep.
The last thing I wanted to ask you was, what are the future goals for Fire at Midnight?
One thing only: gain fans, followers. That's our goal. As many as possible, as many that could come to the show, as many online, and the way to do that is to constantly put out new music. We're going to try and put out some maybe promo videos, but that's the goal, and is to play live. We've got a show coming up at the Lower East Side Lovecraft Bar on Avenue B. It'll be on our Twitter. And then we play a pretty big show at the Sidewalk Cafe, which is a really good place to play, and a lot of original musicians play there, which is also the Lower East Side and Avenue A. So those are our next two shows coming up. But the goal is to put out Fire at Midnight 3 and more albums after that and gain as many fans as possible. So
June 9th is the first one, and July, I believe, is the second one you were talking about at Sidewalk.
Yeah. July 14th. They're both Friday nights, and I think sometimes it's free, but if it's a cover, it's only like $5 or so. It's not much money. Well,
JC, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to chat with me. I really appreciate it. And, please keep me informed, as things are progressing with the band. I like to keep in touch with the band, so that way I can always have fresh music to put out there for people to hear. And my best wishes to everybody. Say hi to the guys for me. And, hopefully we'll get a chance to talk again. And when we do, it'll be about the new album. I'll be anxious to hear the songs and, how that is progressing.
I just want to tell you I love the show, and I just want to thank you, Cassidy, for having me on. And these guys listen to the show. They love the Rock Emporium.
Oh, thank you so much. I do appreciate that, JC. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.